You ever been past a paper mill?
Yeah, they smell like
no
sulfur.
stink like that.
Yeah, there's
the people work there don't smell it.
Yeah.
And that's what's wrong with America.
It's in their blood.
We don't smell our stink.
Yeah.
Okay, we've been stinking for so long, the DNA caters to it. And it could be saved, but they don't know. They wouldn't know how to say it. America is less than a fifth of the world's population. 94% of all the world's hard drugs is consumed in America. Yeah. That's not counting alcohol, nicotine, and caffeine.
Right.
And so when you stop and think about what we hide, what we keep hiding, because we keep talking about America, the beautiful, the powerful, the mighty. Anytime you mix up democracy and capitalism, then you got a problem.
Yeah.
And so, and this is what the young folks, see, the young folks is not listening to NBC and CBS and all that crap. They listen to them shows where they're getting their news from them shows that's talking about what happened today here. And so, I mean, we stupid enough to know that I have the folks that did the autopsy on Ryan. Bring me the pictures. And NBC don't know that? Yeah. NBC? And so all of the stuff that's being hid, you know, all these top folks in the media, they know it, but they keep it. So my grandmother, you know, believed that these guys is to the God kissed them and sent them down here to give Americans the news. They're going to wake up for a rude awakening.
Live and direct.
This is Vessel 1.
Vessel 2. Bringing you hip news. How we see it, how we break it down every Wednesday. Be there, log in, subscribe, give us your feedback, let us know exactly what you think and how we can make solutions to these problems that we see on a day in and out situation.
By the Reverend Charles Colcock Jones of Savannah, 4th edition, published 1832. This excellent address was twice delivered, as will be seen by Mr. Jones' notice, before associations of Southern planters and committed for publication at their request. A 4th edition is now issued gratuitously for the purpose of extending its circulation and of bringing before the community in an unexceptionable form a safe, practicable, and efficient plan for promoting the religious instruction of their Negroes. The subject recommends itself at once not only to the Christian, but to everyone who believes that the success of the gospel is identified with the good morals and temporal prosperity of the community. The command implies that all men in the world, no matter of what nation or complexion or condition, are the moral and countable creatures of God, that they are lost and need the gospel of salvation. In consistency with this prayer, we have assisted in sending missionaries to the heathen, thousands of miles from us, and to destitute settlements in our country. We have assisted in printing Bibles and tracts, and in sending them to every family in our land and in foreign lands. We have assisted in preaching the gospel in our public prisons, in the harbors of our seaport cities, and to those who do business on the great waters. We have assisted in gathering the children of all parents into Sabbath schools, and we have assisted in staying the swellings of the fiery waves of intemperance. But what have we done for our poor Negroes, or most lamentable, may we not say criminal, ignorance of duty, when the Christian is insensible to the condition of those who are perishing around him? We are bound to propose to ourselves and to answer these questions in regard to them. 1. Do they need the gospel? We can return but one answer to this question, and it is an affirmative one. The description which the Apostle Paul, in his epistle to the Romans, gave to the heathen world will apply, with very little abatement, to our Negroes. They lie, steal, blaspheme, are slothful, envious, malicious, inventors of evil things, deceivers, covenant breakers, implacable, unmerciful. They are greatly wanting in natural affection, improvident without understanding, and grossly immoral. Chastity is an exceedingly rare virtue. Polygamy is common, and there is little sacredness attached to the marriage contract. It is entered into, for the most part, without established forms, and dissolved at the will of the parties. Nor is there any sacredness attached to the Sabbath. It is a day of idleness and sleep, of sinful amusements, of visiting, or of labor. They are generally temperate through necessity. When ardent spirit can be obtained, they will freely drink it. Numbers of them do not go to church, and cannot tell us who Jesus Christ is, nor have they ever heard so much as the 10 Commandments read and explained. Of the professors of religion among them, there are many of questionable piety, who occasion the different churches great trouble in discipline, for they are extremely ignorant, and frequently are guilty of gross vices. We cannot go more fully into the moral condition of these people at present. Indeed, it is unnecessary. Generally speaking, they appear to us to be without hope and without God in the world, a nation of heathens in our very midst. Nor is there any sacredness attached to the Sabbath. It is a day of idleness and sleep.
What are the 7 days of creation? On the first day, God created light. On the second day, God created the atmosphere. On the third day, God created dry land and plants. On the fourth day, God created the sun, moon, and stars. On the fifth day, God created birds and sea creatures. On the sixth day, God created land animals and humans. On the seventh day, God rested.
Because I was listening to that book and I came across this quote that he was talking about, but he was referring to how the slaves should go to church and they should use the Bible in order for it to make it easier for the planters to control them. And he said that it's basically, it was the planters, this, his what they refer to as the plantation owners, that it's their duty to make sure that the slaves go to church in order for them to understand how to clean themselves, how to properly behave, and how to be able to make sure that they are following the rules. So when you're referring to Christianity and the Bible, it was designed for one thing, I'm assuming. And it has been used for another thing. But then if you think about why the Bible was actually written, it's always been about control.
Well, yeah, of course. Majority of most religions are to somehow keep things at a advantage of following certain rules and regulations. Yes.
Right. So yeah, I'm not a firm believer in religion. The book is called Slavery's Capitalism. Let me see. And in the book, I read, quote, book that I was talking about that was a ledger for the slaves.
Right.
It's called a Cotton Plantation Record and Account Book. That's what they changed the book title to.
So they coded the title.
Yeah, well, it's Plantation Record. But it says Plantation Record and Account Book by Thomas Affleck. So he is the one who published this book.
Mm-hmm.
In the contents of the book, it breaks down the duties of the overseer. It says the account book includes Affleck's essay, The Duties of an Overseer, which noted that one of the most important aspects of a fine crop is an increase in the number and a marked increase in the condition and value of the Negroes. And then he goes on to say slave owners, for various reasons, were willing or eager to allow their slaves to attend religious services. And Affleck, in the duties of an overseer, agreed with this practice. So, yeah, this is a quote from him. He says, and I quote, "You will find that an hour devoted every Sabbath morning to their moral and religious instruction would prove a great aid to you in bringing about a better state of things amongst the Negroes. It has been thoroughly tried and with the most satisfactory results in many parts of the South. As a matter of mere interest, it has proven to be advisable, to say nothing of it as a point of duty. The effect upon their general good behavior, their cleanliness, and good conduct on the Sabbath is such as alone to be recommended to the planter and overseer." So the planter is the plantation owner, and the overseer is the person cracking the whip.
The police.
Day police, but yeah, the overseer could have been black or white. It
Right.
didn't really matter.
Right.
But church was mandatory, pretty much.
But it stated in the beginning what the reasoning behind it. It was stated that it was their, not only their duty, but it was for the production of the plantation. It was conditioning. That was the words that you used. Condition. So in other words, it's like a brainwash program.
It said a fine crop is an increase in the number and a marked increase in the condition and value of the Negroes.
Right, the condition. So basically it's conditioning to get them to follow the brainwashing.
Yeah. Yes. So yeah, if people who are using the Bible and they're not using it correctly, if there's such a thing, then you can see how it can be used the wrong way.
Of course.
And that's how it began.
Right.
It was the Catholic against Islam.
Yes.
And both religions have led people to do some horrific things. That's if you believe in the Bible. If you believe those stories are real, and if you believe those people in the book actually walked the earth, then that's one thing. But if you don't believe that, then how are you supposed to have this conversation? Right? I mean, even if you believe it, right? Okay, so let's look at it how it's been presented. If you believe that these people who are quoted to be in the Bible are real people, and if you believe how the seeds have been formed and all of us are supposed to come from Abraham,
Right.
right?
Right.
And we get down to Jacob, whose name has changed
Right.
to Israel,
Right.
right? And then we have 12 tribes,
Right.
right? And supposedly the tribe of Judah is where you get Jew from,
Supposedly. Right.
right?
Okay. All right.
Supposedly. Okay. So there is no such thing as Jew. There's Judah,
Right.
which is a tribe of people,
Right.
which means that this tribe of people are connected through a bloodline,
Right.
which means that this tribe has 11 more other tribes that he is, or they are connected to.
Right.
And there's no real way to say that because of Judah, they're chosen.
Mm.
But yet, we're supposed to believe a group calling themselves Jewish, which is a religion,
Actually, it's an adjective, isn't
a
it?
tribe.
Isn't it an adjective?
Okay.
Jew-ish. Ish. It means
It's ish.
ish. Yeah.
That is not a tribe of people. If you look at who's there now,
Right.
it is a lot of different people who are calling themselves Jewish because of a religion, not because of the bloodline, directly back to Judah bloodline, if you believe in any of this.
Now, Jewish people claim Abraham. Sorry. I have to tell you the masquerade is over. Now listen. This is not Jew bashing.
No, sir. No, sir.
I don't have nothing in my heart against the Jewish people, and I'll tell you in a minute why I admire them. But I have to tell the truth.
Tell it. Tell it, dear minister. Tell it.
Look, if they didn't suffer this, who did?
Come on, minister.
If God said to Abraham, look, man, I'm going to bless you. Now think about this. I'm going to bless you. Look to the north, look to the south, look to the east, look to the west. I'm going to give it all to you that you can hold it forever.
Oh, yeah.
Boy, that's heavy stuff. And look at what he said to Abraham. If you can count the stars, so great will be the multiplication of the seed of Abraham. If you can count the dust, you'll be able to count the multiplication of your seed.
Go ahead, minister.
Well, from what I'm reading, Pat Buchanan said
Tell it. Tell it.
that the West is dying because the white race is not able to produce babies. And I just read something last week that the demographers in America are saying that by next year, possibly, the blacks and Hispanic babies will outnumber the birth of white children. Now, wait. Don't clap. Think. Just think with me.
All right.
That means that if this dearth of white babies, one child born, one white person dies. So you have an older and older generation of white people and a smaller young people, group of young people. The exact opposite is with us. So the wise demographers are saying, if this continues, by 2030, 2040, 2050, the whites will be the minority, and the black and the brown will be the majority in America. I didn't say that. They're writing this. What do you think they are thinking? If they see you multiplying to the point where you will outnumber them, why is there so much black on black killing? Why are they promoting birth control? Not for white people, but for you and Hispanic people, Native Americans. Why are they scientifically rendering you unable to produce the walls of your uterus now so weak that you can't hold a child? So it's constant breakdown of miscarriage. You are living in the valley of the shadow of death, and if you don't understand, if you don't know how to save yourself under the plan of God for your salvation, you'll go down with the enemy as he goes down.
You Christians, y'all trip. I know because I'm one. You Christians are a trip. Thou shalt not kill except war. Now, it didn't say that, but somebody told you. You go kill people you don't know, never met, but it's okay because some rich, powerful human being said, here's what you, and you don't question nothing? Somewhere.
Their conversations to me is crazy. They want to tell us that we come from hunters and gatherers. And because of that, we're lazy. And according to their history, we were working for free for centuries, seems like, a couple centuries. And then once they freed us, we all of a sudden overnight became lazy.
I didn't know we had enough time because, I mean, today been one of those days, but it was their duty to give slaves the assistance they need to have religion indoctrinated into their lives. And how we were not motivated, we were lazy, and we were sleuth. And I kind of laughed because, you know, you gonna tell me, like you said, it was slavery. So if we're lazy, regardless of being slaves or not, if we're lazy, we wouldn't work, maintain the fields and watch the kids and cook and all. So you trying to tell me we're lazy? That's why I was like, that's something that you can automatically beat. You know what I'm saying? Then,
but that is their thinking. It's like we're good for nothing, lazy criminals.
Yeah, but how can you be anything else if you
worked us to death?
Yeah,
damn near. Our women took care of your children.
That's right.
Generations of your children grew up sucking the milk out of our women's breasts, and overnight, as soon as you released us from your captivity, we're no good, untrustworthy, lazy, criminals need to be all imprisoned, and no matter what, we have to be less than you. The mentality is just,
that's what I'm saying. Like kids, they're like immature. They're immature. They're very immature. You know how you mad that we're not working for free anymore. You know what I'm saying? The people are not working for free anymore. They not staying on quote unquote your plantation, not cooking you dinner and all stuff. Now we lazy. We supposed to be happy. We free, but we don't supposed to go nowhere. All right, we supposed to stay with you because that was the best thing ever. Come on, give me a break. You
right.
You know what I'm saying?
We're supposed to just do as you want us to do, simply because we don't know any better.
Right, we can't go nowhere. Oh, you from Africa, you know what I'm saying? You can't go back. So the only choice is to stay here, and that's why. Again, Disney's movie Song of the South was banned because how can you're not a slave anymore, but you shucking and jiving and walking around telling stories and happy to be around those Europeans. Oh my God, yeah.
We were happy slaves.
Yeah,
that was the best life ever.
And then the other part of that I was laughing about, it was like isn't it our duty to teach them the way of the Lord and go to church? Okay, that's another thing that I was going to say. Like, okay, we can beat this part. You know what I'm saying? Why do we have to go to church? There are other religions. Why do we have to follow your religion? That's something that you want to, there are other religions, right? And even now, you can see there's Muslim, there's, Judaism,
Because Christianity puts them in the master seat.
Well, yeah, but again, just because it works for you doesn't necessarily mean it works for others.
Yeah, but it only worked for them because we were enslaved. And now that you're not enslaved, the mental slavery is still amongst us because of the Jews.
Also, there was a passage that he said in there, isn't it right to teach men how to be civil? So I said, well, wait a minute. You said teach men how to be civil. So are we men or are we slaves? Because before, if you call us slaves, that means we lower than.
Yeah, that's when you got to know the terminology. They wasn't talking about us. They were talking about themselves. And then the men part was talking about other Europeans, but it's the Europeans' obligation to teach everybody else their ways of Christianity, including the men's property.
Oh, it's a man's duty to teach all men, regardless of savage or so. I heard the word savage after the word man, so I said, okay, if we savage men, so you saying that that wasn't directed towards the slaves? That was savage. You're just talking about savage men. So that means that you're talking about Africa?
The savage included the slaves, but if you remember correctly, even our Constitution, they were only talking about white men. They didn't consider us to be men. So you're right by saying that.
2/3.
But because of the terminology of the word man, that's why you question it, right? So when they are speaking of the meaning of man, that era, it was a definite separation between white men and savage less than. We would have fell up under the savage less than. They would have been called the man. So what they were implying was it's the man's duty and obligation to teach Christianity to all men, regardless if they are savages or not. But that's the beauty of English. They cannot call you a savage without saying you are man or woman, right?
Right.
So they have to use that terminology, and it's up to us to figure out what the hell they're talking about. That's why they didn't want us to learn how to read.
Right.
So you're correct. They're calling us by two different names, and the question is, well, if I am a man, then what makes me a man and a savage?
Right.
To them, in their terminology, they are men and we were savage because of their language. They have to intergender, which is man. That's how come when we learned how to read, we were able to pick apart their constitution and say, well, hey, you can't have it both ways. Either we're men or we're not.
Right, because, if you're talking about beings or anything else, you label as male or female, he or she. Now,
Right.
they said man. That's why I was like, wait a minute, this don't even make any sense.
It doesn't.
Not at
And that's what I was saying earlier by using the correct terminology. So therefore, the arguments you make, they can't dispute because it's their language.
You're absolutely correct. And the final statement is that it's written and documented in the books, black and white. So you cannot dispute that. Well, that's all the time we have for this edition. This is Vessel 1.
Vessel 2 signing off. Until next time, take care. Be safe.